The convenience store hummed under the flickering fluorescent lights, its aisles lined with snacks, cheap beer, and the kind of prepackaged meals that only tasted good at midnight. The bell above the door jingled as the man stepped inside, his shoulders slightly hunched, his suit wrinkled as if he'd been wearing it for days. He moved with the quiet familiarity of someone who came here often, a regular, unnoticed. The cashier, a woman in her early 20s with dark circles under her eyes, barely glanced up from her phone. She'd seen him before, the quiet man who always bought the same thing, a stale turkey sandwich and a large black coffee. No small talk, just a tired nod as he handed over exact change. Tonight was no different. He shuffled to the refrigerated section, his fingers lingering for a second too long on the glass door before pulling out the sandwich. The coffee machine hissed as he filled a paper cup to the brim, the steam curling in the cold air. When he reached the counter, the cashier rang him up without looking. $4.75, she mumbled. That's when it happened. Instead of pulling out his wallet right away, the man froze. His eyes locked onto the counter like he'd just remembered something terrible, or maybe something freeing. His hands trembled slightly as he reached into his coat pocket. And then, instead of a few crumpled bills, he placed a thick unsealed envelope on the counter. The edge of it split open slightly, revealing stacks of cash inside, more money than the cashier made in a year. Her breath caught. "Sir?" He didn't answer, just turned and walked away, leaving the money and every unspoken story behind it, right there on the counter. The bell jingled again as the door swung shut behind him. And just like that, an ordinary night became anything but. The air in the store thickened, charged with something unspoken. The cashier, Mira, her name tag read, blinked at the envelope, her fingers hovering just above it as if it might burn her. The man hadn't even looked at her when he set it down. His eyes, dull and distant, had fixed on some invisible point beyond the scratched plastic counter, his lips pressed into a thin, resigned line. He didn't react, just stood there motionless, his hands now limp at his sides. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows across his face. For a second, Mira wondered if he was having some kind of episode, a stroke, maybe, or a breakdown. She'd seen it before in this neighborhood. People cracked under the weight of things they couldn't outrun. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows across his face. For a second, Mira wondered if he was having some kind of episode. A stroke, maybe, or a breakdown. She'd seen it before in this neighborhood. People cracked under the weight of things they couldn't outrun. Debts, regrets, loneliness. She reached out, hesitant, and touched the envelope. The texture of the paper was rough under her fingertips, the bulk of it heavier than she expected. A corner of $100 bill peeked out from the split seam. Her pulse jumped. You can't just leave this here," she said, sharper now, a thread of panic weaving into her words. The man exhaled, a slow, deliberate breath, like he'd been holding it for years. Then, without a word, he turned away. His shoes scuffed against the linoleum as he walked toward the door, his stride steady, unhurried, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. Mira's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The bell above the door chimed softly as he pushed it open, the night outside swallowing him whole. Behind her, the security camera's red light blinked, silent witness to the moment the world tilted, just a little, off its axis. The envelope sat on the counter like a bomb waiting to detonate. Mira's fingers twitched toward it again, then recoiled. The man was already at the door. No hesitation, no glance back. just the steady retreat of his silhouette against the neon glow of the store's sign. The bell above the door gave its usual cheerful jingle, absurdly bright against the weight of what had just happened. "Hey, wait!" Her voice cracked as she lunged forward, palms slapping against the counter. The envelope trembled under the impact, but he didn't stop, didn't even slow. She watched, frozen, as he stepped into the parking lot. The streetlight caught him for a second, the frayed cuffs of his coat, the slump of his shoulders, before he turned and vanished into the maze of alleyways beyond. Gone. Just like that. The store felt suddenly cavernous, the hum of the coolers too loud in her ears. Her breath came fast, shallow. What the hell just happened? A car passed outside, headlights sweeping across the glass doors. For a wild, dizzying second, she considered running after him, but her feet stayed rooted behind the counter. The envelope was still there. Real. She reached for it, this time with both hands. The weight of it made her stomach flip. And then, because what else was there to do, she called the police. Mira's body moved before her mind could catch up. The envelope, still warm from the man's hands, hit the counter with a soft thud as she shoved it aside and bolted around the register. The rubber soles of her sneakers squeaked against the linoleum as she sprinted for the door. "Sir, wait!" Her voice tore through the empty parking lot, raw and desperate. The night air hit her like a slap, damp and thick with the smell of asphalt and distant rain. She skidded to a stop, head whipping left, then right. Taillights bled into the distance down one road. Shadows swallowed the mouth of an alley across the street. Nothing. No retreating figure. No sound of footsteps. She took 3 stumbling steps forward anyway, pulse hammering in her throat. He couldn't have just disappeared. A dumpster rattled in the breeze. Somewhere, a car alarm wailed. Then, movement. A flicker of dark fabric near the alley's edge. Mira's breath caught. She lurched forward, sneakers slapping against pavement, arms pumping, only to find a stray cat glaring at her from atop a stack of pallets. Its eyes flashed green in the dark before it vanished between the buildings. The alley yawned before her, black and endless. A plastic bag tumbled past her feet. Behind her, the convenience store's lights buzzed, beckoning. The envelope full of money and every question it carried sat unattended on the counter. Mira stood there, shaking, as the reality settled over her. He didn't want to be found. The police arrived in a whirl of flashing lights and crackling radios, turning the quiet convenience store into a sudden crime scene. Officers moved with practiced efficiency, dusting the counter for prints, scanning security footage, peppering Mira with questions she couldn't answer. Did he say anything at all? You're sure you've never seen him before? Why do you think he left it? Mira's hands wouldn't stop trembling. She kept replaying the moment, the hollow look in the man's eyes, the way his fingers had lingered on the envelope like it was something he needed to be rid of. The detective, a weary man with salt and pepper stubble, sighed as he flipped through the security footage on the grainy monitor. The man's face was clear now, early 50s maybe, deep lines around his mouth. A wedding ring? The footage showed him entering, pausing at the counter, then walking away with the same steady resignation. No struggle, no hesitation, just surrender. Money's clean, an officer muttered, rifling through the envelope. No serial numbers flagged, no bank straps, just cash. The detective scratched his head. You'd think if he wanted to get rid of it, he'd burn it, toss it in a river, hell, donate it. Why leave it with a stranger? Mira stared at the envelope. It felt heavier now, loaded with something worse than money. Questions without answers. A life unraveling in front of her, and she'd been the one to catch the loose thread. Maybe, she said quietly, He just wanted someone to see him go. The detective gave her a long look. Then he nodded, closed his notebook, and told her they'd be in touch. But as the cops packed up and the store emptied, Mira knew some cases don't get solved, some stories don't get endings, and some people, they just disappear. Weeks passed. The police found nothing. The money sat in an evidence locker, untouched. The man remained a ghost. No missing persons report, no bank records, no trail, just a grainy still from the security footage that ran once on the local news before the world moved on. Mira quit the convenience store. She couldn't stand the way the bell above the door made her heart lurch every time it chimed. Then, one rain-slicked afternoon, she saw the name in the obituaries. Daniel Harlow, 54. No photo, no surviving family listed, just 3 lines. Former investment banker, passed quietly after a long illness. No services requested. And then, at the bottom, in tiny italics, in lieu of flowers, do something kind for a stranger. Mira sat on the edge of her bed, the newspaper shaking in her hands. Outside, the neon sign of the convenience store flickered through the rain, still running, still waiting. She thought of the envelope, the way he'd placed it down like it was nothing, like he was nothing, and suddenly she understood. Not all goodbyes are spoken. Some are left on counters in the dead of night, where the light still reaches them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.